Steam has a lot of games, but most of them have one big problem. They cost money. However, the ones that don't cost money, they have an even bigger problem. They're bad, and I mean really bad. That's why I've downloaded 100 free games, and my goal is to find one that's not as garbage as the others. At the end of the video, I'll be crowning one of these games with the title of Best Free Game, but let's just say it didn't start out great. Our first game, 100 Hidden Frogs, was surprisingly relaxing, but just a little bit forgettable. On the other hand, the second game called 1940 was a puzzle game made entirely in Chinese. As you can imagine, I didn't solve many puzzles. Another game I didn't make too much progress in was Aces High 3, an accurate simulation of what it's like to fly a plane. Too bad I don't know how to fly a plane. Sadly, I couldn't play the fourth game, Aperture Desk Job, either, because I didn't have a controller. Game 5 was Astrobike, a game all about driving a motorcycle across a 2D track while trying not to figure out, okay, this is just cool math games. In Game 6, the Backrooms game, I was met with a gripping horror experience. Ooh, they just played scary sound effect number 2. Is there somebody crying? I don't know why I'm asking, I can hear them very clearly. Luckily, I found a door that led me into Game 7 Blade Walker. Now, I must be really stupid because I spent way too long trying to get out of my room, and by the time I did, the 10 minutes were up. As karma, Game 8 didn't even launch. Well, this is definitely a virus. Our 9th game, Blown Away, did launch though, and it turned out to be a nice little platformer where you use bubbles to fly around the map. I didn't think it was that bad, but it also wasn't too interesting. Game 10 was literally just a board game engine though. I don't know why I downloaded this. Game 11 was genuinely the least fun and hardest game I've ever played though. You see, Bounceables is an arcade game where you have to move these balls around the screen so that they don't hit each other, and that's it. It sucks. Our next game was far worse though. I can honestly say that Bouncy Go Climb makes getting over it look like child's play. And the worst part is that it isn't even intentional. The reason it ended up being so hard for me is because the game is meant to be played on a controller, and I didn't have one. But to make it even worse, every time you miss a jump in Bouncy Go Climb, you have the chance of sliding all the way down the mountain. The fear that just invoked in me of falling down the mountain, unmatched by anything else. I could watch 1,000 horror movies, never be as scared. But I have to admit, it's still pretty fun. Game 13 was a game about clicking a button. That's pretty cool. Then, however, I encountered a game that was quickly going to become a personal favorite, Silicon Valley. Not only was the name a play on the phrase Silicon Valley, but the game was also a commentary on the current state of the gaming industry. Silicon Valley teaches us that even the worst of games can have a moment in the spotlight, which I found very symbolic of this video as a whole. The game was still really bad though, so I moved on to Game 15, Coloring Pixels. Just like our first game on the list, Coloring Pixels was super relaxing, and I actually did enjoy my time playing it, even if it made me feel like a preschooler. Game 16 was pretty cool too, though I wouldn't really classify it as a game. The Colossus is Coming was, quote, an experimental and abstract narrative experience to go in tandem with the album of the same name by Auric Echoes. Very unique. Moving on to Game 17, Crystalix. I was, for the first time in this video, placed into a school, but I didn't learn much because it was yet again made entirely in a language I couldn't understand. Nonetheless, I put my 10 minutes in. Can I use the bathroom? Excuse me? Ma'am?
בואו ננסה. האם הבנתם את
Can I use the bathroom? I finally got to play a real game though, in Game 18, Cube Escape Paradox. While the story, puzzles, and art style of the game were average at best, it was impressive compared to what else I had been playing. Game 19, Day After Day, was a zombie survival game, and Game 20, Deep Fishing, was literally a mobile game. Plus, Game 21, Destructor Tanks, ran at 1 FPS. Now at this point, I was getting pretty bored, and I won't even lie to you, games 22 to 24 weren't that interesting either. Doge Dimensions was about a Doge flying through space, Dot's Home was a nice little story about making life's hard choices, and Drone Showcase is pretty self-explanatory. But Game 25, Dungeon Royale, really caught my eye. I couldn't actually queue into a game to see what it was like because nobody plays the game, but the main menu looked cool. I don't know, maybe if you guys checked it out, it could turn out to be a really cool game. However, Game 26 was probably one of the most fleshed out games I played in this entire video. Electrician Simulator had a certain degree of realism to it that, despite how cliche it may sound, really made me feel like an electrician. Except it may have been a little bit too realistic because I couldn't actually figure out how to fix this old guy's light switch. Maybe it's because I'm not a real electrician. I don't know. I guess I just found that a bit shocking. Game 27, Engine Evolution 2021 would have been cool if their servers weren't laggy. It's kind of hard to turn when I'm losing connection every 5 seconds. Game 28, Escape, was a horror game that gave me high hopes. The graphics looked okay and got me thinking, yeah, this game has had time and effort put into it. I won't even lie, I just closed the game after that. I didn't see it getting any better. Next up, we had Everlife, which turned out to be another personal favorite of mine. It's a game about hopping dimensions and fighting off these ghost things. The graphics were simple but nice. The movement was smooth and fast-paced, and the levels were hard but not too hard, so it earned my seal of approval. The next game, Exit 2, was basically the same thing but without a ray gun. It did not earn my seal of approval. Game 31, Faith, was not only disappointing but a complete abomination. I have a very long list of complaints, but I'm gonna narrow it down to these two questions. What is this point of view, and why is there nothing to do? At least Fishing Planet's fun. After having such a good time in Fishing Planet, I was feeling pretty good. That's why I would like to preface this by saying Rigor is honestly like no other game on this list. Picture this. You spawn in the middle of a snowy forest with a cabin in front of you. You loot it and look around for what to do next. After about 5 minutes, you realize there's no clear objective and wander into the woods. You stumble across another cabin, and for no reason, you're hit with the loudest jump scare known to man. Jesus. The worst part about all of this is that I'm pretty sure the jump scare was misplaced, because unlike this cabin, the next one over had an actual enemy. But after wandering around the forest for a bit longer, I trick-shotted a zombie and called it a day. Game 34, Gravity Game, was a game about gravity. Very surprising. Game 35, Happy's Humble Burger Farm, was a game about burgers and creepy customers. This is surprisingly less stressful than when I worked at Chick-fil-A. Game 36, The Hidden Room, had a hidden room, but I didn't find it. Game 37 was called Hope, Despair, Chaos, and I'm pretty sure that's all you need to know about it. No? Alright, fine. It's about Among Us. Come on, at least make the venting work. Game 38, How Fish is Made, was another one of those weird games. At the start, you are presented with a choice, up or down. I chose up, but the game decided to send me to hell anyways. Why you look so distressed? Oh, that's why. Then I was greeted by this dancing fish. I don't really know what that was all about, but I don't really know what this game is all about either. Games 39 to 41 weren't too impressive, but game 42, Irene House, really grabbed my attention. The interesting thing about Irene House is that it's a 3D model testing program, but I went into it thinking it was a horror game. Let's just say it was a bit underwhelming. Is this even a game? Are you serious right now? But hey, I had fun staring at the first level of Jigsaw Puzzle Dreams. I'm definitely not finishing this in 10 minutes. Afterwards, I logged into Keep Up Pirates RPG, except the one guy that plays this game decided to just spawn kill me until I left. Then I decided to try Canopsia, but the game wasn't very optimized. Yes, this is the actual FPS. However, Game 46 Killer Worm 2 was much easier to run, and a surprisingly enjoyable experience. Likewise, Game 47 King of Crabs was a battle royale where you have to eat other crabs to get bigger, kind of like Agar.io. I then proceeded to fall down a well, negotiate as a middleman in a Polish protest, and repair a hard drive. Really not sure why anyone thought this would be a good idea for a game. At least Game 51 is normal. Who doesn't love some good old parkour? What? So after all that, Game 52 Momotype was a nice change. It's a game about taking care of your robot pet, and the cool thing about the robot pet is that it behaves just like a normal pet. Momotype can play with you, evolve, contemplate existence, and even game end itself by jumping out your window. Please let this next game be normal. Sadly, my wish was actually granted because Nirvana, a game about making decisions, was incredibly boring. But then I stumbled across a game I forgot I downloaded. Obama. I wonder what this game could be about. This is not Obama. I felt betrayed by the title. I mean, I'd signed up for a presidential experience when I downloaded this game, and Obama just wasn't cutting it. Even though it was pretty fun, I decided to venture back into the Steam store in search of a real Obama game. Needless to say, Obama Boss Fight was much more fun. Game 55, One Way, had a good concept but bad execution. And by that, I mean I found a way to cheese the game in like 2 minutes. In contrast, Alone in the Woods had a terrible concept with great execution. This game looks and feels nice, but the idea of saving my owl kids from a thunderstorm isn't too motivating. Like, they aren't my real kids, why would I give a shit? Game 57, Polygunners. I couldn't get past the startup screen. Awesome. Game 58, my wishes were yet again granted in presidential running game. Now that I had the perfect game to do so, I decided to learn more about politics and the inner workings of the American government. Oh my god, I'm literally surrounded by internet trolls. I feel like that pretty much sums it up. I then got sent to Purgatory for cats and entered prolonged conflicts with foreign nations. Man, these free games have really inconsistent themes. Game 61 Reloader was a realistic shooter game, and when I say realistic, I mean realistic, because this game makes you press individual buttons on your keyboard to perform each hand movement involved in reloading and shooting a gun. I was terrible at it, but you know what I'm not terrible at? Going back in time, because in Game 62 Reminiscence, you reminisce while this guy stalks you. That's crazy. Are you gonna set your water glass down on that? Oh, jeez. Oh, come on, man. How was that necessary? Bro, what is going on in here? Oh, shoot, never mind. I don't want to know. It was also a little unclear what I had to do, so I wasted a lot of time just walking around. Guys, the 10 minutes are up. I'm not scared. The 10 minutes are just up. At this point, I'm getting really tired of sarcastically talking about how much I like games like this. Let me just flat out say, I could have made something better than this in Scratch on a school computer. And speaking of school computers, my computer is actually a lot like them and how I can dump $1,000 into this thing and it can't even run Russian fishing. Anyways, Game 65, The Savior from Above is a game about landing on a planet being destroyed by a big space corporation. It tells a story from the wildlife's perspective and really makes you share the fear and sadness that comes with having your home unpromptedly torn from you. With a lot of puzzles and fun sequences, this game is definitely a possible winner for best free game. Then I played Game 66, Scuba Swat, which definitely wasn't a ripoff of Among Us. Surely not. Sean Cino 121, our 67th game of the video, was pretty interesting too. It looks like this game is still in development. Guys, shout out Sean Cino. I already know this game is about to be next up. Next up, we have Snake Force, a surprisingly good game about moving in snake formation. It took me a while to figure out how to not shoot my teammates, but I got it eventually. In Game 69, Soldier Warfare, I got to play as a soldier that doesn't know how to run, can shoot knives, and has really shaky hands. But after figuring out you can't do anything in the game, I gave up and moved on. Game 70 sucked. It just sucked. Game 71, Spiders Everywhere, was pretty disappointing too. The storyline is that you're a baby that's being chased by a spider. Not too bad, right? Yeah, it isn't. Until you realize that the baby's impossible to control because it moves at the speed of light. Game 72, Spookware, was like playing Jackbox if I had no friends. And Game 73, Spooky's Jumpscare Mansion, was like walking around a mansion with no jump scares. On second thought, Game 74, Stay Out, had a super intense soundtrack. But the scariest thing I came across was this rat. Game 75, Stay Safe, was a game about COVID and quarantine. It was pretty corny, I won't even lie. But Game 76, Street Sense, was a simulator made with the intent of teaching people how to drive. The problem, however, was that the game lagged, and if you didn't know, that kind of messes up your driving. Afterwards, I inherited a couple acres of land and became a farmer in Sugarcane Empire. I can confirm this is just as boring as farming in real life. In Games 78 to 80, I played another ripoff. I wonder where they got inspiration for this. A really cool point-and-click horror game and a hunting game. After about an hour of semi-boring games, I could have never expected the masterpiece I would be playing for Game 81 called Track and Burn. Sheesh, okay, wow, it's fine. It's not really, I'm gonna stop lying, it's not fine, it's not. Speaking of Game 81, did you guys know that 81% of people that watch my videos aren't subscribed? I'm just putting that out there. But on a real note, Track and Burn was a pretty nice game. I could definitely see that they got close to what they were going for when making it. Then after playing a bit of Transformice, I made my way to Game 83 Truffle. Not only was the art style insane, the concept was simple and fun. Basically, you move your mouse and the character follows. Reminds you of something, doesn't it? Thankfully, there was no jump scare, and the rest of the game turned out to be pretty solid. Next up was Viridity, a game about growing plants. I kinda just sat there for a bit watching them. Obviously, they didn't grow, so I checked back on them in a week and saw this. Literally nothing changed. Game 85, The Wanderer, was, and I'm not being sarcastic this time, an actual commentary in the form of a game. It expressed its concerns about the future of freedom and expansion of AI applications through a series of puzzles and interactions with other characters really well, so it could definitely be a winner. After playing such a well thought out game, I really wasn't prepared for how absurdly stupid Wonky Wizard was going to be. Like, it's literally just a game about slaughtering mushrooms in a forest. But just when I thought it couldn't get simpler, I was presented with why the game. You have one goal: touch the letter F and not the letter E. That's all there is to it. Game 88, Wildlands, was really peculiar though. On the main menu, you can really see how expansive and in-depth the game is. But when logging in, you're greeted with a completely desolate hub. This is like sad to see a game that could be so full of life just absolutely and completely empty. Like, this game was made for a massive audience, and it's like logging onto RuneScape and seeing no one around. No, I'm serious. This is eerie, to be honest. That's the word. Yeah, eerie. After that depressing sight, I decided to move on to the multiplayer games I had downloaded with some friends. The first of which being Angry Angry Shark, a game that I thought was about sharks, but was really more about these floating beans.
Dude, this just reminds me of what's that game called?
Crunker.
No, it's like I forgot the name, but it's like an egg game.
Shell Shockers.
This is Shell Shockers, but the graphics are like turned up to 11.
What do you mean turned up to 11? He's like trash. Next we had Crash and Run, and I'm pretty sure the thought process for the developers when making this was, let's make Fall Guys but with guns. Then in Game 91, Deceit, me and my friend got the role of killers, but we didn't know what to do, so we just killed everyone we saw. Okay, yeah, we did not do well, by the way.
What do you mean? We killed like so many people.
Yeah, but it was obvious.
Yeah, but they were bad, so we did well by comparison.
Afterwards, we played Eraser, a platformer where you play as a stickman, and Hats and Hand Grenades, a shooter where you fight over hats scattered around the map. Despite its somewhat bad graphics, the gameplay was surprisingly fun. At least for me.
Wait, what? How?
We got a break, however, when Game 94 Helix turned out to be one of the worst games on our list. From what I gathered, it's a shooter game with abilities, and just nothing else coded in. You can shoot and use your abilities, but there's no winner or reward for doing so. You just respawn and get shot at by more bots. After that, we played Marbles on stream, a game where you pit marbles against each other to see which one's the fastest. And I may have added $10 on the line to make things a little more intense.
I don't even know where they are anymore.
What just happened? Why am I in third?
Yo, Not JD has overtaken Game Master! Game Master has overtaken Bush
Holy
Chuggas
cow.
and Not JD and secured the victory!
Did I actually?
How is this happening?
Dude, I don't even have to give you guys $10. Let's actually go.
Wait, what? How does that actually happen, bro? You were dead last.
Then, we stumbled across probably the most scuffed game in the entire video, Robo Square. Robo Square plays as a series of minigames ranging from racing to King of the Hill. What made the game so scuffed though was that it was unbelievably hard to control your car. And the map just randomly breaks down on you. Push, not to push. Oh no.
Oh my god! We didn't even get past the first obstacle.
After beating up some robots and wheeling our children through obstacle courses, we ended up at Game 99 Ultimate Tag. It was pretty much what you expected. I mean, you just run around and tag people, but hey, we finally got to Game 100 You Will Not Remain, which from the looks of it was going to be a very good game. And it was. The story follows the narrator, who's lonely after an unknown danger from the sky forces them into isolation. The gist of it is that they end up meeting a dog, who they play with every day. In doing so, the main character is able to accept their life for what it is, rather than waiting around every day for someone to save them from the apartment they're trapped in. There's a lot more that happens in the game though, and I seriously recommend you go check it out because it's a pretty nice game. And those are all 100 free games, so why don't we pick a winner? First off, I would like to bestow the title of worst game to Frigor, not only because it was bad, but because it personally offended me with that one jump scare. Seriously, screw you. But who are our contenders for the title of best game? Well, based on my own personal enjoyment, game design, and general quality, I mean, look at the competition, I chose these 8 games. Happy's Humble Burger Barn, How Fish is Made, The Savior from Above, Snake Force, Truffle, The Wanderer, Hats and Hand Grenades, and You Will Not Remain. Now, looking at this list, it's a pretty hard decision for me. We have a lot of really fun action/puzzle games, but we have some really meaningful story games as well. In the end, I decided I wanted to go with The Savior from Above because it really just had the best of both worlds. What I mean by that is that it doesn't just have great puzzles, but it has really good graphics too. For example, at one point you inhale mushroom gas and switch to first person, which kind of blew my mind. I don't know why I didn't think games could do that, but The Savior from Above goes even further beyond the standard of most of these free games and how it seamlessly incorporates an impactful story and lesson into its gameplay. If you guys didn't know, all these games were streamed live on my Twitch, so go check it out if you'd like. But with all that being said, thank you for watching.